Hello and welcome to Universal Studios in Singapore, and we're about to take a look around the Lost World of Jurassic Park. Now, this section of the theme park is absolutely enormous, and it is also my favourite section of the theme park as well. Now, we are already in the Dino Land, even though the Jurassic Park gates are a little bit further up to the right-hand side. Now, this is the first ever time me walking around this theme park and in this section of the park. So I had absolutely no idea which way to go, which is the best way to go, because there's stuff that you can have a look at to your left, there's stuff that you can have a look at to your right. When you come through the gates, it then splits into 3 different ways. So this is literally just going to be gather your bearings and have a very quick loop and a look around, but keep your eyes peeled for the full park tour, because that will be a nice detailed tour of absolutely everything, and we do take a better look at the section of this park as well. So as we come through, you can walk in a straight line, or you can do what I'm about to do and turn right. Now, what we're about to walk by is an incredible ride called the Rapids Adventure. Now, there is a huge difference to this park compared to the one that they've got in Hollywood and also Florida as well, because those two, they are log flumes, whereas this is a big river rapids where it fits about 10 people in a big circle thing that you sit on. So you can see the warning is you will get wet, possibly soaked, and they are not lying about that. You get absolutely drenched as you go around. It is a very, very good ride, but it is also one of those rides that your shoes get soaked because the water comes in where you're standing and you can't physically raise your feet up off the floor. So you do have very, very soggy socks for a little while until it all starts to dry out. So obviously, luckily, the weather is very warm, so it will dry out quite quickly. But if you don't want wet socks, bring yourself a spare pair. So you can see it says on the back, an adventure 65 million years in the making. So this is the busiest section of the park so far, but when I come back around this way later on in the day for a full park tour, there's literally nobody here. So I think everybody just came running to this section of the park. It didn't help the fact that the Minion Land had yet to open. So there was a huge section of the theme park that was not open. So a couple of people did bottleneck up, as you can fully well imagine. But I would assume that that is running right now. So from the time of this being filmed, it was only probably about 6 weeks ago, maybe 8 weeks ago. So it's not that long ago, but I would imagine now that that area of the park will be open, or very, very soon to be open, because it did look great. Now, we are going to be having a quick look in the Dino store. There is a lot of merchandise in here, as you'd expect. All sorts of different tops, t-shirts, hats. There's loads of toys, and of course there'll be some Lego in there as well, if I remember rightly. But you have got obviously the Jurassic World logo and the Jurassic Park stuff as well. In that comment section below, let me know what you prefer. Do you prefer the Jurassic Park, or do you prefer the Jurassic World stuff? Especially if you're going to go here and just buy either a hoodie or a t-shirt, what logo would you have on there? Because obviously they are both completely different. So let us know in that comment section what you prefer. And of course, you have got all sorts of things here that we're looking at. I think you've got backpacks, wallets, hats, caps, t-shirts. You've got big bags, small bags, school backpacks. You've got different variation of hats up top, other variations of bags in the middle, and then it just carries on as it wraps around. And again, you can get different ones in different logos, and that is the Lego that I'm talking about. So again, that is all under the Jurassic World banner. And then up top, you've got the Jurassic Park stuff. So all of this was dotted all over the different theme parks that I went to, especially the Legoland parks I went to on this trip as well. So there's lots and lots of stuff that you can pick up and buy, and of course, you've got all the different camo stuff. So depending on how stylish you're feeling, you can pick up some different bits and pieces. And then there are some other, I think there might have been Playmobil vehicles and things like that, which I haven't seen before. And then coming up top, you then have got a large selection of different t-shirts. So you can see you've got Raptor Attack up at there. You've got some nice logos and artwork wrapped around all across the top. That's quite cool with regards to sort of how they've made that look 3D with the cardboard cutouts. And then you've got some more expensive bits and pieces. But don't forget, because you are in the Universal Studios shop, you will have sort of Universal Studios generic bits and pieces that you can pick up from there as well. Even though at the moment it does all look very, very heavy for the Jurassic Park and the Jurassic World bits and bobs. I think there'll be some magnets in there to have a look at. So I think they basically covered everything. So you've got yellow, blue and purple. That's something that I didn't quite understand, unless it was just I don't know. I don't know what that was relating to. I'd never asked a member of staff. So if you have been before, let us know what that was to do with, because I don't understand why it said blue, green, yellow, red, when the stuff underneath it was a completely different colour anyway. So I don't know if that was for something else in the store, or they just had price points for the colour. Now we're outside the store, and now we are moving on to a different section of the park. So you can see, because it is so hot, you've got all the different fans, and obviously you are covered as well. And you have got some nice bits and pieces to have a look at. So that was on the outside of the actual store, I do believe. Now, as we're wrapping around, if you want to get your photo taken, you can do. You've got multiple photo opportunities all over this theme park. And you can see why there is a queue for those dryers, because they had been on the river rapids and clearly got drenched, as had that person to the right-hand side. Yes, he had taken his shoes off and his shorts were soaking wet. When I was walking around this section of the park, I was just laughing to myself, seeing how wet all these people were, and then I got the wettest on the ride. So karma comes all the way around. But I think with regards to the size of this section of the park, it's got to be the same size as Florida, even with the expansion that Florida's done. The only massive difference is Florida has the huge roller coaster there now, whereas obviously this one does not. But this has quite a lot of rides, all relatively close together. But it is a really nice walkway round. So like I said, this is just a snippet of different bits and pieces as we start to walk around. But this is the bottom of the ride. Now, if we can see one of these coming through, I think we might catch one. If I wait long enough, I'm sure we'll be able to catch one as it starts to come through, because there is a huge amount of people in it, and you do have a very, very large drop as well. So it's very impressive just to see this thing come shooting down, and there it is. So look at the size of that. If there was a large group of you, you would just be ducking under the different bits and pieces. You get soaked from everywhere. So this, I think, is my favourite one. I think this is the better one that they have done. It's just the queue system to get from the lockers into the actual queue is an absolute nightmare. The park layout is absolutely fantastic, but how they got the lockers. They've got the lockers past the way into the actual queue, and they've obviously got people waiting, letting you know where you got the fast pass and all that kind of thing. But because there's so many people waiting to put their stuff in the locker, you can't get back out to then wrap it round. If they had just cut a couple of foot off and they started the queue from the lockers, it would make life so much easier. Now, if you've been to this theme park, let me know if you agree with that, because everything else in this theme park, perfect. Apart from that, that was the only thing I couldn't quite get my head around, because I spent ages and ages waiting to get my stuff back out my locker. But don't forget, you get charged if you get over a certain time point. So I didn't like that, because everybody felt quite rushed. Because if you are waiting in the queue line for a while, or there's a delay, the last thing you want to do is wait 5-10 minutes to then be able to get your bag out. Then you can't get your bag out because you've then got to pay, but you can't pay because your stuff is in the bag. So then you've got to grab a member of staff to open up your locker. Then you've got to pay for it in front of them, and then that bottlenecks up everybody else that is waiting to get to any locker at all. So yes, not a fan of that queue system. So if I ever went back, I would love it if they sorted that out. But I am not in charge, so I'm not. So you got the Amber Rock Climb, and this is a cool thing. This was it was closed, but I think it was a scheduled maintenance, if I remember rightly. So there was a thing in the window that did say scheduled maintenance, and they had clearly taken some bits and pieces off the wall, and also you haven't got any of the ropes or anything dangling down. So it's always scheduled on the Universal Studios website, and again with the Islands of Adventure one in Florida as well, they give you plenty of notice for the things that are open and closed. And to be honest, the Legoland parks are very, very good at that. I did notice on Legoland Malaysia, they had given you basically a year in advance of the month by month what was closed, what area of the Miniland was going to be coming, what area of the Miniland was going to be pulled out, and all of that kind of thing. So I really do appreciate that, especially if you're in the process of booking a trip. But if you waited, for example, another week and a half, then you might be able to get around the whole park before something else closed. So it's always quite good to check online just in case. And if you didn't realise that was a thing, head over to their websites, because they will have all the information on there. So we are just randomly now walking around. I could not tell you whatsoever where we are, what the rides or anything are called, because I walked around the back of some of them, and somehow I went between these two, and then I think I ended up by a completely different section. It's almost like a cut through. So I'm coming back round, and I thought I was coming back round on myself the way I thought I'd come in, and I ended up coming out a completely different way. So that is the Canopy Flyer, which I have seen running at Florida. I do believe they are the same, or maybe they are slightly different. But you can see you've got the old school Jurassic Park thing. You've got the little dino soaring just on there as well. And then you've got the little dino bite. So that's a cool looking thing. The impressive thing with that is at the end of the day, where because they had filled that, basically the whole car was full of ice. And clearly what they had done is at the end of the day, there must have been like a little pull-out bit where the water started to drip through underneath. And then it just trickled straight into a drain. I thought that was a good bit of engineering myself. So as we're coming back all the way around, I am almost 100% sure that I have missed something within this section of the park. But like I said, keep your eyes peeled for the full park tour, because it is a lot more calm than what we've been looking at the moment. There was so many people walking around. That's why it was a little bit choppy, and suddenly we ended up at the rapids. Now, if we move on in a straight line, that then does take us to a completely different section of the park. You then got fossil fuels just here, where you can get yourself some nice refreshments if you want some. Behind me, I do believe, is the huge restaurant, I do believe. But you can see on here, you've got all the different kind of drinks. You've got the different hot dogs. I think you've got some little bites on there as well. And you have got, I think, for $27, it was unlimited refills. I think that's what that said. But you can see on this side, a little bit easier, you've got the water. And then you've got all of you've got the slushies and all the other little bits and pieces like that. So that's just from this small one. And then over on the other side, there is a, well, huge amount of selection on there as well. But I think the refill might have been the way to go, because it was very, very hot on the day me being here. And you do end up going through quite a lot of fluid very, very quickly. So if you are thinking of planning any of the trips, it is different depending on where you do end up in the world. But there's Waterworld. So I somehow ended up right by the entrance of Waterworld. And then there's your far, far away section. So I actually came out of the land. So I'm going to turn back around and head back in. So this bit here is the main eatery. So this is the Discovery Centre. On the inside of this is a very, very cool thing. But you can also see that there's another sign into that area to the left-hand side. So if you were to walk up and round that way, it does take you a slightly different way. Now, the bit that we've missed so far are the huge dinosaurs, which are now to my right-hand side, where every single person wanted to get really, really nice photo opportunities. Now, can't blame them, because it looked beautiful, and if you were able to stand in between these two huge things just here, a lot of people were standing there and then getting their photo taken from the step. It did look great. So I think we might get up there either in this video. If not, it would definitely be in the full park tour, because I did the full loop of this and then soaked it in myself. And then I did actually take some photos, obviously not in them. So I'll probably use one of those photos as my actual screen grab to the video, maybe. So that way you can actually see just how nice the view was. As you come up, obviously you've got a couple of stairs. There is obviously some little ramps and things that you can go up as well. This Discovery Centre is slightly different because it's just a food court. You don't actually have anything else to do in there. I don't think it's got the museum and things like that like the other one does. You've got the big dinosaur in the middle, but then it's just eat. So that sounds daft, but the other Discovery Centres in Florida, you actually have lots of other little bits and pieces to do, and also you can eat as well. Whereas this, it was just a food court with a huge amount of tables on the inside, and then you can also see you've got a lot of tables on the outside as well. But I am very, very quickly starting to run out of time. So if you can like this video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be absolutely fantastic. In that comment section below, let us know if you have been to any of the Universal Studio parks. Are you looking forward to getting yourself to any of the newer lands and parks that are going to be opening up in 2024 and of course 2025 as well? That is the photo opportunity that everybody was trying to get, with the Jurassic Park gates just behind, in between the two dinosaurs, and it did look very, very smart. And you can see you got some more food just there. You got some little ice cream bits and pieces just on the right hand side, and as we're coming back through, there is lots of different opportunities to sit down and obviously grab a bite to eat. There is obviously your Outfitters. I do believe the Outfitters was actually closed on the day that I was there, so I don't think we managed to get in there. Now, if we carry on walking in a straight line, that is also another section of the theme park as well, which is also very, very impressive. And then you can see the massive roller coasters in the background are from the sci-fi section of the theme park, and that video has already been uploaded onto the channel. So if you are a fan of different bits and pieces of sci-fi, then let me know. Now, this is what I mean about the queue line. All of these people are waiting to get to the locker. you can't even get on the ride. I actually had to stop and film it. Nobody can get on the ride. They are all stood by their locker waiting to get through, and now the first lot are just starting to come. It makes no sense whatsoever. They just needed to make that run a little bit further back. So basically, where I was stood, if you could get on the ride from there, you would be fine because you are pinned in. I think the bar to the locker is about 2 people wide. I think that's it. And there's probably about maybe 40 lockers on the one side. There's more lockers on the other, but you can't, when you go on the other side, you then can't get back through because you could clearly see that there's a queue there. And that obviously happened every single day. But that is it. And I am done. So as always, thank you very much for watching. You lot take care and I'll catch you next one. Ta-da.